They showed us unusual kindness. That type of kindness that leaves your jaw dropping. That type of kindness that leaves you at times lost for words. Yes, at times it leaves you so humbled. And many of us have experienced it. And for me, it has happened many, many times. Take, for instance, this week, I was here at home on Monday and suddenly I heard the doorbell ringing. As I got to the door, a lady stood there and asked, sort of inquired for the Methodist minister. So I said, oh, I was the one. So she said, oh, my father would like to see you. He is sitting by your gate. So we walked to the gate and guess who was by the gate? Peter Morris. Yes, yes. Peter traveled all the way from his house to come and visit me. And that was so humbling. And I felt extremely blessed. It was a joyous, joyous moment indeed. A moment I felt unusual kindness. The theme for this year's prayer for Christian unity is they showed us unusual kindness, which refers to the reception given to Paul and his companions when they were shipwrecked on the island of Malta. The story begins with Paul being taken to Rome as a prisoner in Acts 27. The ship on which he was sailing got into trouble. The forces of the seas were so powerful and raging that it almost threatened their lives. These forces dragged them to an unknown territory, the coast of a country called Malta, an island they knew nothing about. They couldn't speak the language. No one had ever been there. They were hungry. They were thirsty. They were wet. They were lost. They were vulnerable. And I probably think most of them were hopeless. They felt so hopeless. As strangers on a strange land, everything was new. And there, in their desperate and vulnerable states, they experienced something new. In contrast to the brute forces of the stormy seas, they witnessed unusual kindness from the people of the islands that they had never been, from a people whom they have never met. These people who were foreign to them were very attentive to their needs. They made fire for them so that they can warm up themselves. They prepared food for them. They gave them shelter. Even though the people of Malta had never heard about Jesus Christ, his word had not reached Malta yet. But what they did, their kind actions manifested God's love. And it is indeed our spontaneous hospitality and our thoughtful gestures do communicate God's love. The message for us from the Maltese community, the message for us that we get from our Bible reading for today is, it is an encouragement for us to perceive hospitality as a virtue. In this case, hospitality can be understood as a bridge between two strangers, people who had not, a group who had not met each other before, a group of strangers. And through hospitality, they came to know each other in a very special way. A bridge was formed, a bridge that creates a bond in which lies or in which hidden the core of humanity, the core of human fellowship, the core of what it is to be human. However, it is also important for us to note that this aspect of hospitality is not one-sided. Neither was it one-sided with the group of with the Maltese residents. They were not the only ones who were being hospitable. I would say they did fantastic. If from our Bible reading of today, Paul and his 276 shipwrecked companions, they were fed, they were watered, they were given shelter, they were warmed by the Maltese people. On the other hand, Paul, he prayed for them and many of them healed. He took the message of Christ to them, preached it to them, and they received Christ through Paul's initiatives. A bridge was formed. Hospitality is not a one-way act because it does not benefit one person or one group. It benefits both the guest and the host. In other words, just as the Maltese ministered to Paul and the group, Paul also ministered to them. Another point that I also thought we can raise is in regards to Paul himself. We can note that as it is in this reading, at times it is the weakest who brings the most important message of hope and salvation. At times, the important message of hope and salvation is brought by someone who is the weakest within a group or a community of people. Take for instance, Paul himself. He was a prisoner. He was in chains. But that did not deter him from sharing his faith. When he was in the ship with the other 276 people, he shared his faith with them and shared that Christ, whom he believed in, was not going to let them die in the seas. He was not going to let any of them die. And they believed that. And when they were now in Malta, Paul continued to minister to them by praying to each and every one of them and by sharing the gospel with them. And through that, many of them came to Christ. Many of them were healed. And even up to today, Malta celebrates this event of Paul arriving in their country with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Every February, on the 10th of February, there is this festival where they celebrate this event. Through the weakest, a prisoner, chained, sprang the gospel, came the message of salvation. And it is for sure through the weakness of the cross that you and me were saved. Through the weakness of the cross, that we were all saved. Therefore, as disciples of Christ, let us make an effort to listen to even to those whom society might deem as having shipwrecked lives, because at times it is through such as these, at times it is through such people that God decides to send his message to us. And in light of our recent experiences with COVID-19 pandemic, it is a pandemic that has the equivalent of a shipwreck for many people, wrecking many people's jobs, wrecking many people's companies, wrecking many people's well-being. We are aged in this shipwrecking environment to be just like the people of Malta when Paul and his companions landed on their shores. They showed them unusual kindness through hospitality. For you and me, who are those people in our own community? Who are those people whom we are crossing paths with? Who are those people whom God is throwing in our paths so that we can show those unusual kinds of kindness? As we reflect on Christ's message, as we reflect on our lives and on what God throws at us each and every day and each and every week, may we please pray for his wisdom. We please pray for his eyes to see those whom God put in our way for us to show unusual kindness to. God bless you all. Amen.